Hello, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube. Myself, Mark Carlaw, and Mr. Riley Finch. Riley, a word that follows us around as West Ham fans, and it has been for a little while now, is ambition and whether the club are showing the right ambition. And I think that kind of links into some of the players that we've got at the club and possibly questioning whether their long-term future is here. Obviously, I'm referring here to Declan Rice and possibly even Rice Bowen. I think the key has been this summer that we wanted to see some ambition from the football club to show that we are going in the right direction. Okay, the transfer window isn't over yet, and there's still a long way to go. But would you say that the club are showing the right ambition?
I mean, we're fourth biggest spenders in Europe at the moment, I believe, with like 97 million euros, something along those sorts of lines.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's hard to argue otherwise. We're bringing in a player like Scamacca, Agad, Areola. I mean, these are literally, Champions League, Europa League level players, which is obviously what we want to be playing as.
Yes.
Downs is, obviously not as, seasoned as those sorts of players, but at the same time, he has a bit of potential, and he was one of the, we want to keep our roots as well with the sort of championship spending. But yeah, I mean, you can't say we're not being ambitious, and the fact that we're still trying to push on and sign other players for big valuations. GSB have really put their money where their mouth is this season, and they've done what we've all been crying out for them to do, and they're back in Moyes. As West Ham fans, we are selfish. We ask too much, we want too much. But realistically, if I'd have told you at the start of this window the 4 players we've acquired so far, the net spend we've spent, I mean, you can't really sit there and say that, we haven't done well this window so far. We're showing ambition. No. We've made Rice the captain. It's clear that we want to build a team around him. We've bought him sort of players that he's hopefully going to enjoy playing with. I mean, Scamacca and him already seem to have had some sort of interaction together, which is good.
Yeah.
There is more work to be done for me. And unfortunately, to compete with the best, we do need to be overly ambitious. But, you look at clubs like Manchester United and we've outspent them. We're showing more ambition than them at the moment. Leicester, we're showing more ambition than them at the moment. And that was a team that was, competing for Champions League top 6 just 2 seasons ago. So for me, I think we're showing about as much as ambition as we can. We haven't got a money tree. We can only do as much as we can. And the sort of players we're being linked with, we're buying. I mean, it's only going up for it, isn't it?
I think you're spot on, mate. To be honest with you, I can't argue with anything you said there. I think you're right. I think we are showing ambition. As you say, we're not a club that's in a position to go and spend £100 million on a player. We're not at that level, and we're not in a position just yet to be attracting the world's very best players to West Ham. We're just not there yet. I think we need to consistently be sort of in that top 6 bracket, probably for another 2, maybe 3 seasons until we might be able to start commanding that kind of that last step of player. Maybe that player that, like I say, well, actually, West Ham are sort of always in the European places, are really pushing for top 4s now. I think we just need a little bit more, consistently we need to be there. But I agree. I actually think the club are doing well. I think we condone ourselves very well in the market. I think we're going for the right type of player. I mean, all right, some of the deals haven't come off that we wanted, but we expect that. We're not going to just get every player we want. That's just not going to happen. And I think Scamacca, I mean, as you've said, mate, I think that's if I was Declan Rice, I'd be looking at that thinking, this is the sort of player I want to see coming through. This is a top young striker. I mean, by all accounts, Italy as a nation are really upset that he's left the country to come to England. I think that the other big clubs out in Italy wanted him. I think Juventus were in for him.
They were,
so yeah. I think they're quite disappointed with this. I think they, at the end of the day, he's their number 9. He's their main striker at the moment, Italy. And he's only 23. So for him to be choosing West Ham, and also as well, X did reveal on Patreon that PSG came in at the last minute, I believe, for Scamacca to try to, and I think offered more money. And he decided to stay loyal to what he was agreed with West Ham and came over. So
nice when that happens, isn't it?
Oh, mate, yeah, we're not used to that sort of loyalty, are we?
No,
not mentioning names. So yeah, no, I agree, mate. I'm really content with it at the moment. I mean, there's still work to be done, West Ham, but as much as we've, GSB have damaged the relationship with fans, we know that, and we have done a video previously discussing this. But ultimately, really, you have to hold your hats off to them and say, well, we are making strides forward as a football club. There's no denying that. We are trying to push forward. They're not just taking money and sitting back and going, we're not really interested. I think there was always a suspicion, I think, for a lot of fans, including myself, that the board were quite happy just to be content with being in the Premier League and thinking, well, we've got our Premier League money rolling in. That's all that matters. I don't think that that's the case now. I think it's quite obvious that the club do want to push on. They are ambitious. They do want to, that's why they brought in the likes of Rob Newman, and they didn't have to do that. So no, I would say I'm, as a West Ham fan, very pleased. I think that we are showing the ambition that is set, and I think the big question for me to you now, mate, is this going to be enough to sway
Yeah,
Rice at the end of the season, or beforehand to say, yeah, this is the club I want to stay at? What do you think?
yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you the same question, to be honest, mate. Is that if we end the transfer window today with our 4 signings, have we shown enough ambition? But realistically, we want to be in the Europa League. That is kind of our aim at the moment. We're not quite there for a Champions League spot, especially when Arsenal are signing the types of players they are, and Spurs are signing the types of players they are.
Yeah.
Realistically, next season, and we're going to obviously do a prediction video soon. We're going to be battling for the 6th spot, I think.
Yeah.
And if you look at our squad, we've brought in players that are of that caliber. So if our ambition is to be 6th, and we're signing players who can play in the Europa League and are Europa League level, we're clearly showing enough ambition. We're clearly getting the right kind of players in. The fact that we're willing to offer Kostic 120k a week just to bring him in, Champions League level player at 29. The fact we're willing to offer 30 million for Onana, for Zielinski, we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we are showing enough ambition. I do feel like we do need to sign a couple more players, just to get us over the line. But realistically, transfer window ends today. I'd say we've shown enough ambition to get that sixth place, get that Europa League spot, which is where we want to be at the moment. Obviously, I feel like there is work to be done, but if we had a transfer window today, I feel like we've shown enough ambition to get a 6th spot in the Premier League. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I agree. I do. I mean, I think if it was to end today, yes, I'd be disappointed in, not because of the players he brought in, but just because I think there's still more work to be done. Especially when we touched on before, left back being a key area, and a couple of other positions, but that being the main one. But yeah, I mean, however, you're right. If it was to end today, and you compare, especially when you've already touched on it, compare it to other clubs. Look at Manchester United. I mean, I don't see them as being overly ambitious, to be honest. I don't think they brought in brilliant signings. I mean, Christian Eriksen, okay, he's a good player. I'm not denying that. And he's a very good, I wouldn't be disappointed if he was playing for West Ham. But again, it doesn't scream ambition to me for Manchester United. That doesn't scream that you're trying to knock on the door to win, reclaim your crown as the top club at all. I think Manchester United are going to struggle this season. That's my general feeling. But when thinking about West Ham and the players that we've been bringing in, I think this is kind of we're hitting the targets that we are capable of getting at the moment. We're not going to be able to bring the likes of Haaland in as a striker. We know that. We're not in that position. You know what I mean? We're not an elite football club that can bring in those kind of players.
Why do we need to? Maybe we've got Scamacca.
There you go. But that's it, though. It's true, isn't it? But then Scamacca really is probably the ceiling where we are at the moment. That's probably where we are. We can't get much better than that.
No.
And fair play. You know what I mean? Like you said, and it's not just that. We're putting money out where our mouth is in other positions. And I still believe that we are going to spend more money. I still think West Ham are going to bring in. I mean, X has put up an update, and I think that the club are saying there's going to be at least 4 more signings. Oh, sorry, the maximum potentially 4 more signings.
I think they think at least one's going to go through the door, which 5 signings realistically, I think is pretty good. I mean, 8 signings would be just a bit unreal. I think realistically at the start of the window we only really needed like 6. So if we're able to pick up a left back and a CDM, that's minimum for me.
I agree.
Even if it's just a left back, to be fair, I'll be happy with that.
I agree. If we get a left back sorted, I think that's the key for us now. I think that's the position we need to get filled, and another midfielder, you say, another defensive midfielder would be very important for us. But I would be pleased with that. And possibly, if there was going to be any last minute deals, I quite like to maybe see Sarr from Watford, someone like that come in as a winger, just a little bit something different, and I think that could potentially happen. But yeah, overall, I don't think we can be disappointed. I mean, the fact is that let's not get around this. We brought in a really, really top striker, and not only a top striker, but a young striker. And we've all been screaming for this. We've all been saying we desperately need a striker. And it's now, at least now we're going into a season where we're not relying on Antonio every single match we play and thinking we've got no other options. We've got other options now. It's just
got me emotional here, mate. Bloody hell. I mean, like, we can actually bring someone off the bench. Oh, mate, I didn't even think about it.
I know.
It's only just hit me now, We're not going to be sitting there watching Antonio lump his arse around for 90 minutes, collapsing on the floor. Scamacca can actually play minutes. I mean, it's crazy.
I know.
We've obviously shown enough ambition, in my opinion. And the only thing that probably we would need to do is kind of get to that next level is possibly improve the training grounds, because I think that is really, really lacking at the moment. But to be honest, it seems to be doing a job. It doesn't look aesthetically pleasing, but it probably does the job for the players, and it's obviously good enough to a degree where players are effectively training and doing what they're doing. So, if we're pumping the money into the squad and getting players in, then that's all the ambition you need, really, isn't it?
It is, and I think as well we need to, when we touch on, you touched on a good thing regarding the training ground as well. I mean, it is something that gets a little bit, a bit embarrassing when you think of West Ham, and you're right, it doesn't look wonderful when you see the pictures. Sometimes you think, oh dear. But then, having said that, and one club I've always been quite envious of, and thought, well, look how well they're doing and how their model works, is Leicester City. And especially when you consider not only what they've done for the ground and around the area, but also the training grounds, is seriously impressive. But having said that, my understanding of what's going on at Leicester at the moment isn't great. I think they've got a lot of financial problems at the club. So sometimes spend isn't always the best answer to everything. I think sometimes it is. You do need to be a little bit careful. You don't want to be over investing in everything and trying to show the world how big and brilliant you are. It can backfire. And from my understanding, is they're having to sell players, Leicester. I think they need to bring in, to sort out their financial situation, which then, I mean, dare I say it, and it's not a very good thing to say, but from a West Ham point of view, it's probably a good thing. It's a club that might go through some issues, and it gives us less competition with them. Not to say that they're not going to be thereabouts again this season. They're a decent team, but if they're having to sell the likes of Maddison and a couple of players to deal with their financial problems, and all that ties you back to the fact that look at the money they've spent on that club, they're probably just a little bit overinvested, and committed themselves to too much cost, and now it's biting them a little bit. So maybe you say, do we need to rush in and spend 50 million, 100 million pound on a training facility? Possibly not. Probably not at the moment. Could do with an upgrade, but I'm not sure. But overall, I think, ambition-wise, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with it, mate. I think it's been a decent window for us so far.
Absolutely, mate.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.